Perfect. Thank you so much. All right. I know that time is short, and for some people it's late, and for others it's very early. So fortunately, this session is recorded. So that's going to make life somewhat simpler. So you don't have to take all the notes. We will send out the recording and the slides to everyone. So just a little bit of housekeeping, as always. Please make sure you are muted. You should have come in and muted. Just stay muted. When you want to ask a question, that's when you can obviously unmute, but we do recommend put your questions in the chat and we will be able to pick them up and we're going to be answering them. And as I mentioned, we will be sharing the recordings of this session and the next one, so you've got absolutely nothing there to worry about. All right. So first of all, if you can in the chat, just introduce yourself. Let us know where you're from. The last session we had people from about 7 or 8 different countries, and it's always good just to see who's on, other than our AI assistants. But yeah, drop in and just say which country you're from, maybe a word or two, just to introduce yourselves. It gives us an idea of the group. Perfect. Natla from Beirut, that is fantastic. Kevin from Cape Town, Jason from Nigeria, Malawi, Tristan, East London, fantastic. I love it. One of my favorite things with aquaponics is, well, we got Petros from Zimbabwe. I was born in Zimbabwe, believe it or not, many years ago. I won't tell you how many, but big fan, Petros, of Zimbabwe. Love that country. Um, no one can deny it. It is really a beautiful country. Sierra Leone, Botswana. Wow, what a group, what a group. So that is awesome. So guys, keep introducing yourself. And as I mentioned, you can absolutely ask your questions there in the chat or on the Q&A. But we are going to have plenty time at the end. The best thing about webinars, it's not just a recording. The whole purpose of this is to be able to ask questions and to go through. So for those who don't know, I'm just going to explain quickly what aquaponics is. This is my life. Basically, aquaponics is the combination of aquaculture, which is fish farming, and hydroponics, which is growing plants without soil. What we do is we create an ecosystem between the two, we link them, we join them, and what we end up with is one of the most efficient methods of agricultural production, where we are not dependent on synthetic fertilizers and a lot of land tilling and all the rest, not at all. We are using the nutrients which come from my fish to grow the plants. So our company, Afraponix, we've been around now for 20 years. I started it was just over 15 years ago with my first aquaponics system. And fortunately, with our business, we've been able to support a lot of farmers around the world. So myself, I'm Justin. I'm the managing director of the company, and my co-host Mark, who will be helping with the next session in particular, is an absolute knowledge base when it comes to aquaponics. We've been working together many years. He is based in Spain. He heads up the European operations as well as all of the training. So, all right. So that, in a nutshell, is me. You guys have introduced yourself, and I've introduced a bit about the company, a little bit about what aquaponics is. But the purpose of the webinar today is something that I always feel is really often overlooked when it comes to farming in general. And to be honest, some of what I talk about is absolutely related to aquaponics, but the things that I want to share um, are the lessons that we've learned, all right, doing aquaponics, building systems, installing systems around the world. Fortunately, we've had the experience of working in many climates, different regions, different countries. And a lot of people want to go into aquaponics, and believe me, it is such an amazing, amazing, amazing methodology for farming. But these are some of the things that I've noticed with farms we've worked with. Some we've even installed. Some of these mistakes, we've made those mistakes. And that's why I really want to be able to be honest through the sessions and share them. But what you'll find is over tonight and on Thursday night, we're going to be covering 6 topics that, for me personally, are the major barriers that you want to know why farms fail? These are the reasons. And this is purely from my experience. The ones that have done well, the ones that haven't, most of them have made these mistakes. But only one of these mistakes is actually related to the growing side. So the rest is really about the planning, putting your thought behind what it is that you are going into, what you are diving into. All right, so just in summary, these are the 6 topics that we will be discussing. We'll be talking about getting the design wrong. This, for me, is probably the most important one. Growing for the wrong market, cash flow, and understanding the needs and how the cash flow works with these farms. Um, on Thursday, we're going to talk about the seasonal impact in agriculture and especially aquaponics, which is very, very sensitive to seasonal changes. We're going to talk a lot about the fish and sometimes the wrong fish and also introducing fish wrong. And then the last one is really around having redundancy in your system. Okay, perfect. So let's kick off here with understanding the first major challenge. So, what for me, the most critical thing is, and I say this in every single training, lecture, university, wherever you call it, you can change a design on paper and it costs you almost nothing. To change a design in reality is going to cost you a lot more. So when I'm talking about the design, I'm talking about the planning of the aquaponics system, that it is planned how all the components go together, where it's going to be laid out. It is planning who's going to be doing the installation, who's going to be doing the setup, all of that. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about design. All right, so there are 5 core elements here. The first and the biggest, level ground. All right, I can tell you 9 out of 10 systems that we've had to either, probably about 3 of those were ours, but this is the number one issue, getting the ground level. Now, you got to remember we are working with gravity, fish tanks, water flowing, water beds. There is no soil. In traditional farming, I can farm on a slope, no problem. But in aquaponics, we're working purely with water. Our plants are growing with water, and that water is moving around the system. So any sort of gradient is going to be an issue. Um, the second one is not planning the plumbing, and more importantly, it's not planning the right size of the plumbing that you need. One of the lessons that I learned quite early on is if you can picture a water pump, everyone can see a water pump. A pump has usually quite a small pipe, all right? Maybe it's 50 mils, 25 mils. Look at your plumbing in your house, all right? All of my plumbing in my house is running with copper pipes that are 20 mils. And if, where I have a lot more water, maybe 30 mils. The reason why I'm able to use small pipes is I have a pump, and that pump could be the municipality, it could be anywhere else in my house, but I have pressure pushing that water through those pipes. Okay. When I've got that pressure, I get away with a smaller pipe because I have something forcing that water through. Now, what happens when there's a power cut and your pump isn't running? Your water starts flowing much slower through your pipes. And the reason for that is when water flows with gravity through pipes, it doesn't have an engine behind it. It is you purely using gravity to move through that pipe. So if the pipe is too small, and just to give an example, in aquaponics, I will pump my water from typically the sump into my fish tanks. From my fish tanks, my water flows back through my filters to my grow beds. There are no more water pumps involved until it gets pumped back to my fish tanks. Now, when I'm saying the undersized pipes, it is those that are flowing from my fish tanks to my grow beds to my sump. I'll talk a little bit more about that just now. The third very, very common design error is not understanding the importance of filtration. Okay. Now, I can't tell you how many aquaponics systems that I've seen that have almost no filtration. And by filtration, what I'm referring to is the removal of the solid waste, first and foremost. So that is all of the waste, the fish waste itself. That mustn't go to the plants. That's a misconception. Okay. The fish waste cannot go to the plants. If it does, it's going to cause a lot of issues. And I'll speak a bit again about, I've got a bit of a case study to go through. The fourth one is not accounting for mineralization. Now, this is directly linked to my filtration. With my filter in place, I am stripping out quite a lot of the fish poo, the fish waste. Now, mineralization is a process where I break that down into a soluble liquid that goes back into my aquaponics. So that fish waste is not wasted. The mistake that a lot of people make is allowing the fish waste to go to the grow beds, and that's what then causes a lot of headaches. So when you're planning your system, please do not underestimate that. And then the last major one is the assumption of I need a greenhouse or my greenhouse. I saw a greenhouse like this somewhere and it has to be that one. Ask yourself, is that the right type of greenhouse for my climate? Understand the purpose of a structure. What is that greenhouse's purpose? Is it to keep my plants warmer? Is it to keep them dry? Is it to keep rain off? What is the purpose of it? Because I have so often seen greenhouses go up in literally the desert, and plants are so hot and the water gets so hot that nothing can grow. Okay, so let's look at a little case study here. So this was actually a farm that we were asked to come and assist with in the USA, actually in the Virgin Islands. And these were the issues that were there. Now, this farm had been built, they had spent, the budget was huge. A lot of money had been spent. But these little things that hadn't been thought around were causing this farm to be unproductive. Okay. The first major thing is that there was a 150 millimeter difference between the one end of the deep water culture, the height, and the other end. And that's what I'm talking about, a level surface. It might look level to your eye, all right? And believe me, it looks level. Our eyes are not trained to understand that 0 degrees is 0 degrees. If there's a 1 degree, we can't see it, especially over 30 meters, maybe 40 meters. So 100, that's a 15 centimeter difference. What that meant was on one end, my deep water culture was almost overflowing, and at the other end was almost empty. So my plants on this side were simply not getting enough access to the air and the oxygen, and the ones on this side obviously had plenty. But what it meant was very inconsistent growth. Okay, so what did we have to do? We had to remove the deep water culture, the grow bed, that with all the plants, no production. Level it properly and then put it back. There is no other option. Otherwise, you are going to be fighting against the elements the whole time. The second issue was that the sump. Now, the sump is basically where all my water ends up. Once it's gone through my filter, through my grow beds, it ends up in a sump where I am able to then return the water to my fish tank. What was happening was the pump was pumping at what it should have, call it 20,000 liters an hour. But the sump was kept running dry. So basically, the water was being pumped out faster than it was able to return. So if I have a bucket of water and I pump it and I expect that water to drip back through a straw back into my bucket, my water is going to move out much faster because it's got that pressure from the pump and it takes much longer to return. So what that was instantly I knew that the piping was all too small. And that was the case. You got to understand that there's a maximum flow rate for pipes. And depending on your system, please do not assume that a 20-30 mil pipe is big enough. More often than not, we are using 110 mil pipes and multiple sets of 110 mil pipes. Okay. So very, very, very important lesson here. When you're building your first system, you have to make sure that all of your pipes where water is flowing by gravity are big enough. The other issue was the filtration. There was virtually no mechanical filtration on this farm, meaning the fish waste was going into the grow beds, and what that caused was anaerobic activity. And I'm not going to speak too much about it, but basically, anaerobic activity is the opposite of aerobic activity. So, aerobic activity is what we want in aquaponics. Anaerobic activity is what we don't want. It is when nitrate is converted into ammonia, and that causes your whole system to go into total shock. Now, I can't tell you enough times how important it is to get the solids out before they get to the plants. All right. And the fourth issue was the greenhouse had a double air layer insulation in it. It was designed to grow in the snow. That greenhouse was designed to retain every bit of heat possible. And this was in the Virgin Islands. Now, the Virgin Islands is the ultimate tropics. It gets extremely hot all year round. And what it meant was the water temperatures were always too high for the plants. And when the water temperature is too high, your plants can't grow. Plants need a temperature in the region of 20 degrees 22 degrees for the roots. Okay, I'm not talking about the leaves. Obviously, that is important, but the roots themselves, that water temperature is so critical. If the water gets too warm, your plants will not grow. It is that simple. Yes, my fish want warm water. Perfect. My fish are so happy. But guess what? We have combined the fish and the plants into one system. We have to understand that both are equally affected. All right. What was the cost? Cost almost $8,000 to replumb, to get an additional proper filter in. 16% of the build cost was spent on doing one job twice, and 4 months of totally reduced growth. The impact is significant. You can't afford to make a mistake on your design because it's going to impact your business going forward. So your design has to be 100%. So get it right on paper, okay? Make sure that the site you've chosen, you can get it level. And when it's level, make sure it's level. And it's not complicated. You can literally use water in a pipe to test how level it is. You basically just a clear pipe, fill it with water, hold one end at one end of your farm, hold one end at the other end, and you'll see the water level differences between the one and the other. Now, that is only going to cost you $10, $20 maximum, and you get the levels correct. When you're planning your system, do your plumbing on paper. It is so easy, and I am the worst at this. I'm so excited when we've got a project we want to go and install. I just want to get to site, put the tanks up, put the grow beds in. My site is leveled, perfect. And then plumbing. Now I'm like, oh, I need to go to the hardware. Oh, I didn't get a T. Oh, I didn't get a valve. Oh, I didn't get this. You end up running back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And sometimes you have to shop around to get what you need. So Just make sure that you have planned it, that your piping's big enough, you know where your pipes are going to go, you have a clear layout, and with that, you can work out the flow dynamics, which sounds complicated, but it's not. You can type that word into ChatGPT, it'll calculate for you. I have a pipe this big, and I need to move this much water in this time frame. Is my pipe big enough? Yes or no? It will give you the answer. Okay, we don't have to be rocket scientists. But you need to ask the right question and you need to design with the right design in mind. Okay. Don't skimp on mechanical filtration. And I'm not talking about expensive filtration. I'm not talking about spending thousands and thousands of dollars on drum filters and all of no. You can build mechanical filters. A mechanical filter's job is only to remove solids. You can do that with mesh, with netting, with stones. You can. There are many options. Just do not skimp on it. Do not leave it out, and please don't make it too small. All right. Make sure that you plan for how you're going to mineralize. Again, I'm going to say it's super important. Mineralization is literally 50% of aquaponics, guys. Half of aquaponics is about the mineralization because that is what gives you those micro elements and additional nutrients that you need to grow your plants. Otherwise, your plants are just getting nitrate and a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The mineralization is what unlocks the remaining nutrition that's in the waste or the feed that you gave to the fish. Without it, you're going to be spending money on additional nutrients or you're going to be growing subpar. So understand the importance of it, plan for it. And honestly, this is the one reason people don't put a mechanical filter in because they want that waste. And it'll be great for the first 2, 3 months. Your plants are going to do well because all the waste is there. After 6 months, I promise you, the waste is going to start blocking things. It's going to stick to the roots. It's going to block up all your media. It is a disaster. And 9 months later, you will be wishing that you had just spent the time to put in decent filtration. Okay. And then the last one around design, choose the right grow method for the crops that you want to grow. Okay. Understand in aquaponics, in hydroponics, there are many, many grow methods available. Deep water culture, NFT, vertical farming. All of these have pros and cons. Understand what is the right method for the crops that you want to grow. All right, so let's pause. The question is, if you're wanting to do this, where's your design? Do you have a drawing? Do you have a sketch? Is it high level? Is it full? Or is it built already? All right. So just check in there where you are, especially you might already have built a system, that's fine. But it doesn't mean, if you're going to make a change once, not more than that. It is not fun changing a system over and over and over. All right, perfect. As mentioned, as we are going, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. I will be getting to them all at the end. So just so you don't forget, put them in there and we will be picking them up. Okay, let's talk about mistake number 2, growing for the wrong market. All right. This is a mistake that is very, very common. Now, when you start farming or you start aquaponics, you want to just grow lettuce, which is fine. No problem with that. All right. But every other new farmer is doing the same. Have you understood where the demand is, what the market needs, and what prices you're going to get? Because do not assume that everything I grow will just be sold. I made this mistake and I speak about it in our introductory lessons and classes. I made that mistake when I started. I started growing and growing. Ah, this is fun. I grew so much, but I couldn't sell it. All right. I didn't do my market research. I didn't understand even if I'm growing lettuce, what variety of lettuce is the right variety? What will work well in my climate? What do the clients really need? What are they using it for, and what am I going to get from it? Okay, do not just assume that what you grow gets sold. It's super, super important. All right. This was another farm that got set up. They had about 150 square meters of deep water culture, and they were growing lettuce. It grew well. The system was designed well. It was phenomenal. But the challenge was they had ended up with close to 400 kilos of this lettuce every month to sell. And the local market maximum that taken was about 60 kilos. It wasn't coming close to the demands, or wasn't coming close to what the system was producing. Now that was costing money to grow. It was costing money. It was costing money, and it was impossible to find a client for that balance. Who made this mistake? It was me, my first farm. All right. So I'm not pointing fingers necessarily at everyone else. This was my mistake. I did it, but I'd never stopped to say, hang on, hang on, hang on. I don't yet have a market. Why am I putting this pressure on myself? Because it's stressful and you lose money and it becomes more stressful. And what ends up happening is that produce goes to the compost, gets fed back to the fish, maybe it goes to the chickens. Market research, grow the right crop. It is that simple. All right. Identify the crop that makes sense for your market and do your homework. So important. All right. So, what did this mean over that first year? It was a huge loss, 40% loss. I was unable to cover my operating costs. Okay. That's what it meant. As farmers, we work on margins. But if I have 40% of my product unsold, there's no ways you're going to be paying all of your operating costs, your power, your farm, your laborer, and all of that. So what does it mean in retrofit? Take a step back. Take a step back and make sure that you can sell it first. Often I say to people, before you have a farm, become a seller of vegetables. Buy from someone, sell it, repackage it, develop a brand, find other farmers that are trustworthy, build a brand, build a market, and distribute into it for the fish and for the plants. Because that is the hardest challenge for farmers. And farmers aren't always the best salesmen, all right? Unfortunately, that we need to be. We need to be a salesman, we need to be a farmer, we need to be a husband, we need to be a father, we have to be everything, but we can't be everything perfectly. So when you start, find at least three buyers, never one. All right? Always, always, always. Do not depend on one buyer. I made this mistake also. All right? I had one large offtake and they let me down, and I've made this mistake twice, guys, in my life. The first time I didn't learn, second time, believe me, I learned. I learned that lesson the hard way. Okay? Get the commitment and grow with it. Even a commitment, like I said, do not assume that commitment's going to stand until it's actually in progress. No matter what pieces of paper you have, no matter what contracts you have, at the end of the day, the farmer is financing the product. I am paying for the seed. I am paying for the fish food. I am paying until one day I can sell that product. And then the person who's supposed to buy it turns around and says, actually, I know I said I wanted that much. Nah, but today I don't need as much. So I just want to buy 10 kgs, not 30 kgs or 40 kgs. No legal contract will bother him because the problem is you're the one now stuck trying to offload and get rid of that product quickly. So you always need a few buyers. One is going to be a premium buyer. Your premium buyer pays you premium price. You're going to have a general buyer that I'm at least covering my cost, and you're going to have a buyer that you make a loss with, but you need that buyer that you make a loss with. That's the one that will get the extra, it will get the excess. Rather sell something for something than nothing. So you need to establish at least you have those three buyers or three clients that you can work with and trust and depend, because That is so important. Once you've got your commitment, you plan and you grow into the market. Even if my system can grow 100,000 plants, but I can't yet sell 100,000, then only grow 30,000 or 10,000 or 5,000 or 2,000. Grow what you can sell, even if your whole system is not being fully maximized. Because as you build the trust, as you build the market, and this can take years sometimes. Do not expect that tomorrow I'm selling to Woolworths. It doesn't work like that. It takes time to build up the market, and that has to go alongside your planning, your system as you scale up, but scale within means. All right, I've seen some farms do this extremely well, where they put in one module and they run one module until that module can't keep up with demand. Then they put in the second module. They run that second module until it can't keep up with demand. They put in a third module and then the fourth. And the great thing with that, you are learning. You are learning small and then you're scaling. But not only that, you're able to put your second module even better because you've learned from your first. And you've learned, oh, this grow method wasn't the best. Ditch it. Let's go with a different grow method. All right. And then never settle just for one crop. Ideally, have two or three different crops that you're growing, at least three different clients. Okay. So do you have a buyer? Yes or no? If you don't, I suggest you find that buyer before you invest your money, before you take a loan, before you put your inheritance into something. Find a buyer, do that research, identify what they need and how much, because that is what changes the whole business plan. All right, cool. Just going to pause there for 2 seconds and let people drop their chats in. If you want to drop in a chat, you're very welcome to do that. Perfect. As I mentioned, I'm going to get to all the questions at the end. Okay, so we've covered two problems: design, the wrong product. Now I'm going to talk about the third one, which is linked, all right? There's a theme here where all of them are linked, but they are strictly exclusive. The third issue is running out of cash before full harvest. This is all about cash flow. You need to know how much is this farm going to cost you to run every month until you see revenue coming your way. All right? So, what that means is you need to understand that for the first 5 or 6 months, you are not making any money. You are spending money. Why am I spending money? I am spending money on fish food, on seedlings, on staff, on fertilizer or pest control. I'm spending money on electricity, on petrol. How much is it actually costing you per month to run? Don't find this once you start, all right? Because this is often the hard one. You start your farm and then you realize, wow, okay, it's costing me X amount per month to run, but it's too late. By now, I've run out of all the cash. I've spent it. It's expensive starting a farm. You need fencing, you need groundworks, you need an office, you need a car, you need a vehicle, you need an aquaponics system, fish tanks, filters. And you put all your money into that, and then you don't have money to operate. It's like buying a Lamborghini and not having petrol, money for petrol. Okay. What's the point of having that Lamborghini if you can't put in petrol? Okay. So understand that it takes time, at least 5 or 6 months till you get any fish sold. It's going to take a few months for your plants to scale up. It's going to take time for you to build into your market. So this time frame here, understand what it costs, and make sure that you are funding the entire project, not just the build. All right. Know your number, and say it out loud. Literally, that's what I say to people. So, on average, farms cost in the region of $8 a square meter. All right. Some farms a bit less, some a bit more. But per square meter, that's what it's costing you to operate. Okay. Now scale it up, it scales up based on size. Okay. The bigger my farm, the bigger my expenses. The more staff I have, the more electricity I use, the more fish feed I need, the more seedlings I need, the more everything I need. So make sure that you have planned this into your budgets, that you have the resources to get to the end goal. Don't just use all your resources to have one nice drive and then not be able to get to them because the clients need the finished product, right? And your staff don't take it well when you tell them there's no money. They're not going to pitch up to work. It's that simple. All right. So make sure you stagger your production, you plan it well, you grow it into that target market that you've got. And that is what's going to really start helping building or differentiating a successful business from one that could have been successful. Got it. All right. So those are the three topics. And what I would like ahead of the session on Thursday, and the reason I don't like talking about all of them is we're going to get lost. By the time I get to six, we've forgotten one. All right. So the three things that I've spoken about tonight, all of these are absolutely critical. The design, the product, and the budget. Now take the time to think about it. And if you want to come back on Thursday with questions, that's great. But these are for me essential, 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 essential. And obviously on Thursday, we're going to pick up the other three. And I hope by the end of it that people are like, Jeepers, I'm never going to farm in my life. No, it's not the point at all. The point is I like to be very honest. I like to be very frank with the realities. Perfect. So let's open up for some questions. Feel free to ask anything. I am all yours. I am all ears, and I am more than happy to um, more than happy to discuss, debate, and to talk. Nakla, absolutely, you will get this recording later on. Don't worry about it. You can actually access it from the same link, but I'll send out a mail with the details and the slides. Torizo, yes, go for it.
Hi there, Justin.
How's it, man?
Pleasure to meet you. Seen quite a few of the videos, very insightful stuff that you share there. So I am in South Africa as well. And a large part of what you've been saying is like something that I've been thinking before starting. And that's kind of like getting the market, Um, especially when you're getting into this new business, you try and think of the, end goal and you start thinking of like, yeah, I want to produce for Woolworths. But like,
Mhm.
what would your recommendations be for like starting small and finding like a local market? Where would you maybe say one can start looking?
It's a great it's a really is a great question. And I'm glad you enjoyed some of our content. The advice that I can give around the market side is twofold. One is it will, regardless, yes, your Woolworths can be your end goal, but regardless, that takes you 6 to 12 months to get your gap and your regulations. You have to prove that you're able to farm at the standards before they will allow you to supply. So, regardless, you have to work with other markets. Now, in South Africa, for me, by far my most successful revenue stream actually came from Spar. All right. So Spar in South Africa is a independent retailer. They are not bound by the regulations of your big out, like your Pick and Pays and your Checkers. It is literally, they call it your friendly Spar. Now, getting a meeting with the manager is not always easy, but they are, for me, have been the most receptive because for them, it cuts out a number of issues. It cuts out shelf life. So if you think what happens to a typical product in a retailer, it goes from your farm to a central pack house, from a central pack house to a distribution center, from a distribution center, it then gets to the shop. So that it's 5, 6 days later, it's at the shop. And fortunately, Woolworths have an extremely good cold chain management. That's why their food stays fresher. But a lot of other retailers don't have that luxury. So if you're able to deliver fresh, it stays longer on the shelf. You can market your product as premium. But for me, it's worked extremely well, where I go out and I speak to those smaller retailers. The restaurants I found very difficult, and this is my honest truth. Restaurants want everything or nothing. And as a farmer, you cannot supply everything. You cannot supply everything from the carrots to the potatoes to the cabbage to the lettuce to the herbs to the. Only a handful of restaurants who actively appreciate the quality will take it. So restaurants have been a very, very hot and cold for me. So my advice is one, speak to the organic retailers, but remember they don't take huge volume necessarily. So that's what's so important is what volume can they take? And can you grow 3 or 4 products that maybe they can take all of your product line? Then at the same time, you go to the markets, you register because if you cannot sell your product, you have to take it somewhere.
Yeah.
But the market, you will not make a profit at the market. It's that simple. You're competing against farmers who are offloading product at a loss, doing exactly what you're trying to do. It's never going to be a profitable margin for you. Does
And
does
then
that
by the
help?
and
Yeah,
then by the markets was are these like your Joburg market, Swane market?
exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Now, those markets out of season can make money, but in season,
Yes.
when everyone's growing something, not. So you keep a very close eye on what are the market demands. The data's there.
Yeah.
You'll see a cucumber will go from 3 Rand up to 20 Rand, depending on the season. The
On
question
the
is, can
season.
you supply it out of season? That's the question.
Okay. No, 100%.
That comes back to your design.
Okay. Thanks, Justin.
Pleasure. Cool. All right. Who's next? Mohammed.
Yes. So
Hi.
what's good?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Hello, good afternoon here in Sierra Leone.
Perfect.
My question here, this aquaponics is a new technology. I'm sure it is for us here. I could remember I once saw this technology at the university, Jala University. The aquaculture department designed this uh, aquaponics and growing vegetables. My question is, I want to know the specific vegetables that can do well in this technology. And I want to know also as well if this technology can only be run by electricity. And as you said, you have to search for the market before ever you go into such product. And for us, the market here is not that much, but it is demanding, especially
Yeah.
like the green vegetables.
Yeah.
So those are my few questions.
Okay. All right. Perfect. So I'll start with the first one, which is what can you grow? Honestly, you can grow anything, all right? That's the bottom line. It depends how complex you want to design your system and the environment and the control of it. But normally the most common products that you are growing in any hydroponic system is your fast turnover products. Okay. That would include things like spinach, kale, lettuce, herbs, anything that can be grown relatively quickly, turned over, harvested, cut, replanted. The moment you start looking at brassicas like cabbage, cauliflower, broccoli, the time it takes in the system is very, very long and it takes a lot of space. All right. So you are going to look at a product. How long does it take to grow? That's the most important thing. How much can I sell it for, and how much space does it take up? So when it comes to the product lines, you can pretty much grow anything. That's the gist of it. But it comes down to more understanding how much can I get? How long does it take? I have the luxury of a system that can grow a huge variety of product that most farmers can't because I'm not dependent on the soil, not dependent on the nutrition that's there. I'm providing that to the plant. So definitely look for products that there is a demand, but understand more importantly, how long does that product take to grow, and does that product grow well in my environment? So you need to understand that the temperature and the climate directly impacts how well plants do. So
Mm.
it's about researching the crops, researching the plants, and finding a balance between the two, as well as the market. Because a guy might want 300 cabbages, but hey, he's only going to pay you $1 a cabbage or 50 cents a cabbage. It's not worth it. It's not
Sure.
worth the infrastructure cost that's gone into it.
Yes.
Now, I've forgotten your second question.
Electricity, if it can be run.
Electricity, yes, yes. So you absolutely need electricity. There are ways to kind of work around it, but at bare minimum, your water need, well, the bottom line is you are farming fish in high density, all right? So when I'm doing fish farming, I can put fish into a pond, but maybe I can only grow 6 fish in that pond before there's too many fish. In aquaponics, I'm doing 40 fish in the same pond. That's why I have filters, air pumps, and the likes. So to build up enough nutrients for my plants, I need to have that density of fish. I need to have a lot of fish in a very small space. Otherwise, my fish are not going to produce enough nutrition. That's why if I try grow a plant with water from a dam, it's not going to grow fully, but it can help the growth of some plants. So electricity is unfortunately an essential part of aquaponic farming and intensive fish farming. It's more the intensive fish farming. You can get away often with like catfish using very low power. They don't need a lot of oxygen. They compared to say a tilapia. So some species need less power, less air, less pumps. But having said that, you don't need a lot of electricity. So what a lot of farmers do is they have a couple solar panels and a small battery, and they plan and they design that system to run off minimal power. And I'm
Mm.
talking 100 watts, 200 watts, less power than a fridge. You can run a system, a fairly decent system. So yes, you need power. It's very hard to get away from it, but you can have a very, very efficient system.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Awesome. All right, let's quickly move on to Petros has his hand up. Yes, Petros.
Um, Thank you so much. I don't know, maybe we are going to mention it in the future, but we also, when we're talking about design, we also have to consider the water quality and the
Yes.
parameters because of the source. Mine is more of a contribution, the first one. Then
Uh-huh.
the second one, it will be talking about the different ways to like maybe venture into this one because every industry is very broad based. So
Hmm.
without losing what I wanted to say, we might also want to consider investing in water quality because of course you have a filtration system for the ongoing system, but
Yeah.
the very same water that you are introducing into your system in the first place, the source,
Yes.
the reliability and the availability of the water, it
Yeah.
must be sufficient and also in good quality in terms of the parameters, because there are some unfavorable conditions for fish to grow, or maybe that may be maybe let's say for example hard water. You might like to have your water tested before
Yeah.
you introduce it into the system Then
Yeah,
also the
it's
other thing,
very valid.
yes, and also the other thing that I wanted to contribute, it's about sometimes the problem with farmers when there is an opportunity in the in aquaponics, everyone wants to grow the fish and the vegetables. But now we have also to look broader in the
Hmm.
system, like looking at where are they going to get the piping?
Hmm.
You see now, you may look at like the opportunities in the equipment supply, the entire value chain. Look at it from there because obviously because of capacity, like you said, cash flow becomes a problem if you start something that you cannot maintain for the time that it's going to be not paying you. You
Yeah,
won't be earning any cent. You'll be pumping, 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 and pumping. And I know that I've got that kind of experience, of course, with land-based things. So
correct.
want to open up your mind and look at the broader where you can fit. It can be a long-term thing. You can start by maybe providing certain services that are in line with aquaponics, including maybe you're looking at the idea of training aspect, knowledge sharing, and also maybe trying marketing is not all about the end product, but also giving people reason why they should buy the kind of food that is grown in that kind of system. Because obviously there's health aspect and the quality of it. So
No,
then lastly,
definitely, definitely.
yes, I wanted to know, do you have like a reseller arrangements for your products and services? Like maybe you talked about being based in South Africa and Spain.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely, Petros. Drop us an email and we can pick that up. But we're obviously happy to work with people in different regions to promote the products and the likes. But yeah, drop us an email and we'll be very happy to chat to you after. But
Okay,
just
thank you so much. That's all I
yeah,
had.
the one point there around water quality, very important. We'll touch a bit on it next week. But if your water, the most common issue is actually for the plants, the salinity of the water. If your water is high in salinity,
Yes,
you
yes.
cannot grow a number of crops. So it is very important to know the water quality. It's forgiving, it works with quite a wide range, but there are some things that are a no-go for the water. Perfect. Thanks very much, Petrus. We'll chat to you after.
Thank you.
Julius, that is super cool to hear from you. We'd love to know more about your project. Please just drop me a message or an email. So Julius is from Liberia, and he's been running a aquaponics project there for a couple years. And some of the things I've said have resonated a bit with him. But it'll be really good to connect with you and learn more about the project that you've got going on there. I love to learn. Never stop learning. Okay, Sheldon, find out about the training program in person in South Africa. Want to know where you host the training. Perfect. This is a great question, Sheldon, because I get to promote our training courses. So we do now and again offer intensive in-person training courses, but what we found is it's very hard for people to give up a week of their time and it's very expensive. So what we do in the 3 weeks is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have live in like this interactive sessions where we talk through the content, we go through the videos, we walk through our farm, and we basically work through all the content. And for people who are in South Africa or coming through or in Joburg, then at the end of the course they come through to the farm here, and then we can do some practical, a bit of practical work together to finish it off. So it's a bit of a hybrid, but you're not limited based on location. That's why we do the training online and live, and it's recorded, and you get all the materials. It's working really well. And then what's great is when you are coming through Johannesburg or Midrand, you give us a call and then you come through. Anyone who's done it is very welcome. All right. Shavain, success of strawberries in hydroponics. Very, very good question. They are mixed. Some people do it very well, some people don't. To be totally honest, the most successful way I've grown strawberries is in vertical grow towers, or aeroponics. So that is on the vertical grow systems. The strawberries have done phenomenally well. Obviously, the risk is if that you lose power, then the plants will dry out. But they're away from a lot of the pests. They have an incredibly perfect environment for the root zones. So in short, yes, you can be successful in strawberries. But bear in mind that with strawberries, it is around mastering the production volume. It's all about the right plants, the right seedlings. It's a big thing. But yes, you can grow them, definitely. Perfect. Bose, I hope I've pronounced your name right, from Nigeria. Um, and I'm sorry if it sounds too advanced, but yes, we do have beginner level classes. We'll email some information. And absolutely, I appreciate that for some people, these webinars, but we do like to be a bit technical and a bit challenging. But we do have a lot of material for starting off, which we will be very, very happy to share with you. And we've got obviously the online courses, but there's also an online course we can set you up with, which is totally self-paced. And that will bring you very, very nicely up to speed. Nakhla, is it useful to support the system, adding nutrients? Very good point. This comes into the technicality. Aquaponics provides 80-90% of all nutrients, especially if you're mineralizing. Now, that is for your typical crops like your spinach and your lettuce. Perfect. The moment I go to more hungry feeders like tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers, and certain other crops, I do supplement iron, calcium, and potassium. Those are the three main ones that I add small amounts in to supplement the nutrients for those particular crops. All right, perfect. Eddie from Bulawayo, another guy from Zimbabwe. That's awesome. Fantastic. So, guys, it has been a lot of fun. Our time is now up. Um, and you can bring all your questions on Thursday. Please join us again for the next three in a Q&A. And it will have Mark as well, so he'll also be sharing some of his insights. And yeah, spread the word, invite your friends, and look forward to it. And if you are interested next week in the course, details are on the email. And Shavain, to finish off, is it a good market for longer shelf like crops like cucumbers, bell peppers for export to the UAE? Absolutely. Actually, spring onions, they keep growing. They don't die. There are crops that you can have a longer shelf life that is easier for transportation, and markets. Yes, absolutely, 100%. It's a very good idea to look into when you don't have the cold chain management and facilities. Perfect, guys. I'm going to love and leave you all. Have a fantastic evening and or morning, afternoon, wherever you are. I'll send out the slides and the recording, and we'll see you guys on Thursday. Perfect. Cheers, all.
All right. Cheers. Thanks, Justin.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Always
you.
a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Always a pleasure.